Good afternoon, this is Robin Bieber on the European Midday Roundup and Good Morning America Chart Talk on the 24th of July at 12 o'clock in the morning London time. Chart in front of us is set 60-minute Brent, and you can see the dip here to the short-term moving averages, which will appear on the daily chart in a minute, and then the recovery and then giving up some ground. Pretty much the same with RBOB, no change, but this market at the moment is being led by RBOB and heating oil. It was RBOB hitting its key resistance yesterday, the 200-day moving average around 129.60 or so, that caused the rot and the profit taking and then the subsequent dip. Now, the market still has upside potential, but it must hold, in the crude's case, its short-term moving averages, and pretty much the same is true of products. They must hold the short-term moving averages, but if the products, i.e. heating oil and RBOB, don't collapse and crudes waver a bit, the more important element of this is going to be the action on heat and RBOB. This is the normal ebb and flow of a market that tried to break out 3 days ago and then yesterday pushed on higher with RBOB hitting its target and then settling back. It's a bit of a fence sit today. Either scenario could work, i.e. a push lower or holding the short-term moving averages, moving up over the key resistances, and then we're in for a springboard move up to the key really strong resistances again, and an attempt by the uptrend to get moving. So here you've got RBOB, its 60-minute chart, trying to recover and a little bit of give back in the last hour. Now, if we look at a daily chart of RBOB, here's the key resistance that it hit yesterday. There. Coming in today at 129.65, the 200-day moving average. That was the completion of a price cycle, and it was what RBOB was meant to do. It did it perfectly. Meanwhile, heat and gas oil also tested their key resistances, which they'd actually hit 2 days earlier, and failed. That's why we slid yesterday. Now the key is what happens immediately in RBOB's case at 126.80. If it can stay above 126.80, and that might be a big ask, but if it can stay above 126.80, it looks like it's set to, later today, it looks like it's set to test 129.65 again. And of course, that would take the rest higher with it. Meanwhile, it must not close below the 8-day moving average around 125.52 at the moment. That is critical. If it fails to at 125.52, it's going south to the 21-day and potentially the 34-day, and we're in for a trapdoor move lower. At the moment, this morning, it's held its 8-day. The low was 125.61, the 8-day 125.52. It doesn't get that much better. Watch 126.80 as a pivot. If it stays over there, we're off back to the 200-day at 129.65. If it fails, we're going back to test the 8-day around 125.50, and that's where the real test of any upside resolve will be. And heating oil, org heating oil, not very different. It's got to hold above 125.34, preferably move over the 5-day at 125.95. It's printing 125.70 at the moment, but if it holds over 125.34 by the close tonight, it's in good shape. It must not close below the 13-day, which it's held this morning so far, at 124.10. It is very much an either-or scenario. The negative stochastic is not helping, particularly with potential bearish divergence. But balance that against RBOB stochastic, it's positive. WTI and Brent will follow the heat and gasoline. WTI has breached but held the 13-day. It must not close below the 13-day, which probably will come in around 40.89, or the area of this high as well. And if it can move back over 41.72, and it's got close to that today at 41.67, then it's gathering some momentum higher to 42.49. If that occurred, you'd have heat and RBOB above their key supports, which they're above at the moment. Now, Brent has got to get over the 5-day around 43.76 to give it some momentum higher. It's failed to do that so far. It's breached it but pulled back. It must not move and close below the 13-day at 43.35, or it's going to dip to the 21-day at 42.94. It's very much an either-or scenario, but again, it will follow, like WTI, what the heat and RBOB do. And gas oil has held its key 13-day moving average around 372 so far this morning. No downside whilst that holds. And if it can move and close over the 5-day at 378.25 area, it's shaping up for another test of 388.25.50 zone. The message is clear. watch heat and RBOB at their key pivots. And basically, if heat holds over 125.34, and that might be a big ask at the moment, it should head back up to 128.66, where the real test of any upside resolve takes place. And if RBOB can move over 126.80, it's over there a little bit at the moment, but not by much, we're in for a retest of 129.65, the critical and important 200-day moving average. So a lot to watch this afternoon, but particularly keep your eyes on heat and RBOB. And if we have a quick look at structure, front-end Brent, still sorry, this isn't front-end Brent, front-end Brent just coming. Still wobbly, but it's held the important minus 37 support. And whilst it holds minus 37, no further downside. And the OCNOV is holding around minus 28, and it's stuck a little bit. So no real direction. The WTI front-end structure is holding. It's going sideways and holding with no real excitement in store for us. And if we look at the back end of WTI, a little bit stuck in amongst its moving average, still vulnerable unless it can move over the 124 level, the area of the 21-day moving average, that comes in at 134. If it can move over there, then it's in reasonable shape. And the red deck on Brent, holding minus 232, no downside whilst minus 232 holds, but it really needs to move over minus 210 to give it some upside. And both these deck reds are going to be very much in the hands of what the flat price does, and they will reflect that. Both have got negative stochastics, which aren't very good, both the red decks, that is. So that's all for today, folks. Good luck, good trading, and bon appetit.